Hello and welcome to Tabletop 24. I'm Alan.
I'm John.
I'm Brian.
And welcome to another episode of We'll Play Again, where we take a look at games we've recently got to the table with a view of how quickly we're getting back to the table. With ever-growing collections, time can be precious, so we answer the question of, would we play again? Today we have Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition from Stronghold Games. In Terraforming Mars, we are going to be playing competing corporations that are attempting to do the titular activity of Terraforming Mars. The game is going to take place across a number of rounds, and which are broken down into phases. To determine which phase we're going to be doing, we will be in secret choosing one of our phase cards, which we've got one of 5, putting it face down, all revealing it, and that is going to be the only phases that will activate that turn. And we'll turn these over to show which ones would be active in that round. We would then proceed down those phases, get to the end of the round, do it all again, but we cannot choose the card that we would have played last time, so we would put one sort of on top of the other to show that we can't use that one. Once that's revealed, the first one will come back to hand, and that's available for the next round, and we keep going through there. Each of these phases are pretty much pushing us towards our end goal. In the development phase, you'll be playing a green card. In the construction phase, you'll be playing a red or a blue card, or potentially drawing an extra card. In the action phase, you'll be performing either a standard action or an action on one of your cards that you might have generated. In the production phase, we'll be producing based on what we've got going on our player board. And then in the research phase, we'll be picking up some more cards. Each of these phases has a main ability and a bonus ability. Everybody gets to perform the main ability. So in our first instance, we're just reversing it around, I could have played a green project card as well as everybody else, but my green project card cost me 3 less. Brian could be doing a red or a blue card, and his bonus action would be to either play an additional card or to draw a card. John choosing research, everybody would draw 2 cards and keep in 1. John, as his bonus, gets an additional 3 cards and gets to keep an additional 1. So there is benefits to be playing each of these. We keep going round. We are going to be pushing up the temperature, the oxygen level, flipping these ocean tiles, which will be giving us bonuses. All of this will be increasing our terraforming rating. When we've got these cards in hand, we'll be playing them for a cost, potentially have a requirement. For instance, might be a tag requirement or a temperature or oxygen requirement or a number of ocean tiles requirement, which we're going to put in our tableau that will potentially improve our production or change the state of Mars. The game continues until all 3 criteria are met on the terraforming of Mars, which would be oxygen at its maximum, temperature at its maximum, all 9 ocean tiles flipped. You will then score points based on your terraforming rating, the number of these forestry tiles that you've picked up, and also any points on the cards that are in your tableau that you've managed to get out through the course of the game. That, in a nutshell, is our overview of Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition. So, if you watched our previous video, obviously there's going to be a lot of comparisons here to Terraforming Mars. Yeah. And I think that's safe to say. It's going to be hard not to compare one to the other, this being the game that came out afterwards, and the one we played after the original, and the video that should be going out after the original. It's obviously going to be drawing a lot of comparisons to that.
Yeah. So the first thing to obviously recognise is it's a lot smaller in terms of table presence than the Terraforming Mars. The main board is much smaller. These are about the same sort of size actually, but when we come to play it, your tableau tends to be a bit smaller, that I found, than in Terraforming Mars. There's a lot of the cards just move your production up, and then they're kind of done. You can sort of stack them neatly behind you. So it's kind of a smaller table presence. The component quality is really good. The AA boards come, I think.
So I think there's 2 different editions, even at retail. One's come with flat boards and the others come with the recess board. I think these are more common.
Yeah, you can still get it in the retail version, is my point. So that helps a lot. The board is quite nice. The cards are better quality. They've been sleeved, but even the base cards have got a nice, a bit thicker and a bit nicer texture to them. Same kind of thing we've got with the tokens. So they're about the same.
You get these trays as well.
Trays are quite nice. Yeah, it keeps it all together. One thing that I did find slightly annoying is the board there's not really enough space for your tracker here, and they tend to get slippery around in there, so you can't quite necessarily keep track of where you are.
Yeah, I think in our with Terraforming Mars in the we'll play again for that. We kind of said there's a bit of inconsistency with components, and we kind of gone, you've done all this great work improving the component quality, and then it's a small thing, but you've got these tokens. You try and put 2 on a line. I know it's something really small, but it doesn't fit there. The cube that you're pushing around here it's not the right size.
Yeah.
This one, particularly on the oxygen track, it's bigger than the slot, whereas on the temperature, it's about the same size. So it's kind of, they've done all this work improving the game, and it kind of just didn't. There's just that they failed at that.
Yeah, but one of the other improvements I really noticed is the artwork is really nice and internally consistent now. The iconography is still really good. It's not great for colour blindness, we found.
Red and green for me were a bit of a match.
But, they were still clear in terms of the iconography, so you didn't stop you playing the game once that was understood. And I think it just feels like a more well-rounded, thought-out
I think
game.
That's really the key point. They've really taken what Terraforming Mars was and gone, well, what did we fall short on? What can we improve on? We've said about the iconography and the way the cards work. Whereas, so taking an action card, for instance, you've got the action bit at the bottom. Now I can just slide another card over the top of that, and I don't need to care about the rest of the card. Whereas in Terraforming Mars, there was bits at the top and the bottom of the card, so you had to have it facing. Yeah. So they've really thought about, okay, how can we improve on what we've done? And we did agree that Terraforming Mars itself was a good game, and I think this one just improves on a lot of its qualities. But it is a different game. I think the main bit of that comes into this whole phase mechanic, whereby you are picking one of 5 phases. You're looking around the table going, well, what's everybody else going to pick? Because I could do with playing a green card, but I don't need the discount on it. But I could really do with playing an action. So I want to play action, but I hope somebody's playing a green.
Yeah.
So I hope somebody's playing a development card. Because that's going to enable me to do what I really want to do.
Yeah.
But I don't want to play a development. So
and often development feels like a wasted turn because you're just getting a development card to gain the resources to play another card you want to play. So you kind of want somebody else to play it rather than waste it yourself.
Yeah, I mean, certainly in the play that we had, there was, why nobody played green? Why hasn't nobody played that? It's just the nature, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's getting that bit of that bluffing sort of getting if it's done. And I think if you're playing and looking around the table, seeing what people have done, they might not do it. And again, even in a 4-player game, there's one phase not being done every round.
Yeah.
At least one phase. Yeah. And again, if for instance I chose construction the same as Brian, we'd both be doing our bonuses, but there'd be no development phase.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's just knocking out that phase of extra stuff to do. So it's a bit of that sort of mechanic that's in there. But
so I was kind of worried playing this if I'd be feeling the same about the card synergies at the start of the game as I did with Terraforming Mars, about not being able to find an optimal route, or from the start not have cards that make sense going forward. But I found, because this is a freer game in Terraforming Mars, I think there's more paths to scoring, and because of the cards here that allow you to draw cards, you're going through cards more to find those cards to give you the points, to optimize your build to score the points. And I had a card as well that allowed me to draw an extra one and keep an extra one.
Yeah.
So I always had 10 cards in my hand, and I was cycling through, getting those ones to build up my points. My only problem was I discarded 2 at one point that I really would have scored me another 7 or 8 points at the end of the game. But that's on me. And I was furious with myself because I knew what I'd done. And at the end of the game, I might have come second because of that. But that's just keeping your eye on the ball. A freer, easily playing game than its sibling Big Brother in Terraforming Mars.
Yeah, I think you can still end up with the synergies, very much so. You can still end up with that opening hand that you go, right, boom, 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 boom. And you've not got the same requirements to pay for the cards that you're keeping. So you get a little bit more, well, I'm kind of going to keep a couple of these and see how it goes. And you can at any point ditch a card to get 3 mega credits for it. So it's having that push-pull that, okay, well, I'm going to keep them, see how they go. But actually, at any point, there's still a resource. It's not cost me anything to keep hold of that card. Yes, you have to discard down to 10 at the end of any round. But actually you find in this when you're playing through more, you're digging through more, you're keeping even with the research action, you are only going to, unless you've got the card that John had, you're only going to get 2 cards off of that. You're going to see 5, keep 2, and you are going to go through them, and so you can work yourself out of a synergy. So if you've got 2 or 3 cards at the beginning of the game that you kind of go, well, these kind of go well together, then you're actually not a bad position. But you could still end up with 8 cards at the beginning of the game that just don't work.
Yeah.
Another difference between this and the base Terraforming Mars game, the original one, is you do your actions simultaneously.
Yes.
So it becomes a faster game in that sense, but it does feel but there's a chaos of stuff going on. And it's quite easy to miss something or to make a mistake because everyone's focused on their own area. They're not necessarily seeing that, so things could slip through that you're not necessarily aware of. I found towards the end of the game, there's so much going on to keep track on. I needed a bit more time, I felt a bit pressured to get through the game, to get through my turn where everyone was waiting for me. And I was like, hang on, I just need to think about this a bit more carefully.
Yeah. Because, I mean, in the original Terraform Mars, you take 1 of 2 actions on your turn. Here, you are going through the phases. And you might not be partaking in that phase. It might be that there's a development phase going on, and I've got no green cards I want to play. So I'm just going to sit back.
Yeah.
Whereas, obviously, in the original Terraform Mars, you still are doing something on your turn. Yes, you're sitting back for everybody else's turn, but on your turn, you're still
And
doing
if you're not quite sure what you want to do, you can just do 1 turn and move on, and then think about it again. You're out of the game yet until you've passed.
Yeah. And if you've got an action phase whereby you've picked up a load of these blue cards, actually you've potentially got quite a long turn, and doing the order in the order that they trigger could be really important based on production and research.
Yeah.
So you've got that flow in there. I think having it simultaneous play is great. I think you've got the potential to make a mistake. No, we're not all robotic, so we don't all. We're fallible, aren't we? So we could make a mistake, and a genuine mistake, not a cheat or a misconception. But if you were playing this with a unscrupulous sort, then it's quite easy to just go, well, actually, I'm just
move it up one.
Do that there, or I actually know I'm going to. Or it could be a genuine mistake that you thought this was the way it acted.
It could make a difference between getting 4 or 5 points on there throughout the game, when it could cause a difference between.
That said, the scoring is quite tight. Yeah. There wasn't that many points between us.
It was actually quite tight, yeah.
But you've also got this bit where you're all reaching for the board and you're kind of watching this go round and you're moving up the tracks and have you moved your terraforming rating. Whereas obviously when in the base, when your turn's your turn, you know what you're doing, you know where you're moving, and you might have moved something and we're in a fairly helpful group, somebody else might have moved it for you, and you kind of having to keep track more of what's going on because you're not quite sure.
That's what you've done it. I didn't feel like that in this compared to Terraforming Mars. I felt that this flowed a lot better, and I loved the phases, and I thought everybody playing together worked really well, rather than just right. It's my turn. What can I do? And if your interaction's only somebody pointing out, going, "You're doing that wrong," or "You need to do that," and "You need to do that," I'd question that interaction. But with this, there wasn't any of that. Yes, we did pick up things. It's the same in some games that you can. Monopoly, for instance, everybody hates it, but where you land on somebody's property and nobody tells them that they owe you money, and that can lead to rancor between players. There was none of that in this, and there's none of that in most of the games that we play. But I didn't feel there was anything in here that people were missing or deliberately doing to skew the game.
No, I don't think so.
No,
it's just it occurred to me last time we were playing it. There's a possibility that actually.
But even on the opposite side, so when you've played a card, if you've got an effect in play that allows you to play it for cheaper, so some of this stuff, I'm trying to think of more now. Yeah. So you actually can play.
3 less for any Earth tag.
Yeah. So if you're not even getting that benefit because you've missed that yourself, there's possibly a little bit of.
People could help you with that if they'd seen it, but. I mean, returning players who played Terraforming Mars come to this game. It's a quite easy transfer teach, isn't it? There's a couple of rules variations, a little bit of way how the board works here. But generally speaking, if you play Terraforming Mars, you'll pick this up really quickly and be able to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Just as much.
The interesting thing is there was no change in how the phases played within the game. So there was no early on you're doing these phases or later on you were doing the bottom phases. It was kind of the only thing I'd possibly say that towards the end everybody was just doing production to get the money to buy plant things to push up this to get more points, which is a bit like an egg action at the end of Wingspan in some respects.
Yeah. Just a point on the returning players. So there is this sort of handy guide that is the quick start guide. It's very clearly labelled what is different between this and the base game. So which is, I say base game, the original game, which is really quite nice. And this has obviously done so well that they've brought out, I think, 3 expansions that have finally just come into retail. So that they've obviously invested in this series. Now, comparisons between the lot of them. Should be a shorter game. You've got the consistent artwork, the component quality is a little bit better. Everything came as a bit more, didn't it? And I think
that distillation of the original game into this made them highlight things and pay attention to other things just to pick up the quality on it.
Yeah, I think they're very different games.
Yeah,
they've still got the same thing, the same sort of mechanics with production.
Same but different.
Yeah, it is that really same but different. It is, you're still trying to push up these 3 criteria to terraform Mars. In order to do that, you're still playing cards.
Yeah,
but how you're doing it is
still got benefits from being different companies. You know, that are unique to you. So a bit of asymmetric play there.
One thing in the other game I enjoyed more, well, this is saying something, is the actual map, that there was more areas for you to terraform on. This is a limited supply, and once they're done, they're done.
Yeah,
pretty much. And that that felt a bit off for me. That there was
you can take as many of these almost as you want, can't you? Really?
But there was 9 oceans, and that's
you're only doing the oceans. You're not actually. Yes, you're terraforming, but in the original game, you're not building cities. You're not planting. So it's kind of abstracted out to these sort of forestry tokens that you're taking.
Yeah,
but
and even to the point of, you need to have those on the map. Surely, maybe just have another stack, and if you do an ocean, you pick one of those and pick another one, and then you're not limited to what they're on there.
Yeah, you don't really need a map of Mars. You just need these 3 tracks.
Yeah. And I think it's still, but I think they've tried to make it as similar to the original as possible, and I think that's
just to give it a feel.
So the big obviously question that came out when this was announced and launched, and the big question probably for us is, do you need both games? I think that's something that's quite polarizing in one sense. I think they are different enough that you could own both. I think if you are tending to play shorter games with a lighter crowd, this wins over the original. But if you want a deeper immersive experience, yes, there are some flaws in it. The original has more to it. But because there's 4 expansions.
As an example, I mean, the corporation card is very basic now. This is what you get, and the bonus and what effect you get. In the original game, Terraforming Mars, there was a bit of flavor text on there, like what the company was, what they do. So just a little nuance and things, and it's a bit more. This is more of a game. You know, you've got these weird phases which a bit arbitrary, a bit abstract. The only thing in the Terraforming Mars game that stops you from doing things is really how much resources you've got to do your actions with. When you run out of resources, you have to sort of build more resources up. But this arbitrary, like I can't research because I wasn't at that phase.
And it's built on the basis that generations. So you're doing as much as you can in that generation, which is the round. Whereas here, the round is just, well, we're going to do as many of these phases as we've shown cards for. So it takes away that. So I think
the way I played this, I didn't look or to rely on anybody else playing one of the phases that I wanted to play. I played the one that I wanted to play myself. And that worked for me. I mean, yes, you could look at what other people are doing and try and second guess them, but you're never going to, I don't think you can ever properly get the game. No, you can't.
Yeah, and I think the one thing you do need in this version is a conductor, somebody that's going to go, right,
yes,
are we doing the development? Is everybody done with the development? Okay, we're moving on to construction. Right, is everybody done with, and just following it through, because it comes back to that chaos point of, I think this, for me, this one's more hectic in the sense of not what I'm doing, but what everybody else is doing.
I think that worked well when we played it, because I think mine was, right, has everybody done development? Right, has everybody done construction? You know, and that worked well for me. But there could be chaos in this.
Yeah. Okay. So everything said, John, would you play again?
I'd play it again, definitely. Much more so than its brother or sister, definitely. And going back to saying, would you own both copies? No and yes.
Right?
I'll play it again. I think I prefer Terraforming Mars for the reasons we just discussed about the theme and the immersivity of it. But I think it's still got a lot to offer, this game, and the component quality and the feel of the game is just really nice. So next time you bring it out, I'll be happy to play it again.
And for me, we'll play again soon. I own this version where Brian owned the original game. And I mentioned in that we'll play again whether I was going to buy it all, and I actually went for the app. Now there's no app yet for Eraser's Expedition. So yeah, I play this. It's got a solo mode in it. It's got everything that you could kind of want, and it's a smaller game. I think sometimes you've got that really long variable time frame of the normal Terraforming Mars. So I think actually this plays in a much more compact, and actually for me being selfish, it's smaller presence on the shelf. It fits on one of the smaller bookcases behind me. So I think for all of those things, it wins out for me. Okay, so thank you for joining us for this episode of We'll Play Again. If you haven't done so, please check out the videos on the channel, give us a like and a subscribe, and we'll catch you next time. Take care.
Cool.
Bye.